What if I told you that every single day you may be consuming foods that are scrubbing away the protective lining of your intestines? Today, we are talking about 5 foods that are actively destroying your gut microbiome. Many patients will come to me because they started taking some expensive probiotic, drinking some green juice, and a digestive enzyme, but they are not feeling better. And they don't understand why, because all of these things are good for your gut health. Well, it's because they haven't removed the offending foods. You can't out supplement a bad diet. Today, we are going to look at the big 5 gut health destroyers. So some of these are obvious, but a few are hiding in products marketed as healthy. And we're going to look at why they damage your gut lining and cause dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in your gut microbiome. So let's start with the first one. Number 1 on our list is a category of additives called emulsifiers. Specifically, we are looking for things like polysorbate 80, carrageenan, and carboxymethylcellulose. You can find these in ice creams, creamy sauces, and yes, even in many healthy plant-based milks. They are used to keep the texture smooth and prevent separation. But here's what they may do inside your body. Think of emulsifiers like dish soap. You use soap to break down grease when you're washing your dishes, right? Well, emulsifiers act like detergents in your gut. They can erode the protective mucus layer over the gut lining. And when that mucus layer dissolves, gut bacteria, which should stay in the center of your intestine, can encroach onto the intestinal wall. And this triggers inflammation and can lead to something called leaky gut, causing more inflammation. These additives can also lower your gut diversity, and therefore you'll lower the amount of short chain fatty acids, which are substances that your good bacteria make when they feed off of fiber. And they're so important for helping maintain that mucus layer of your intestine. And also they have other functions such as helping reduce inflammation overall and playing a role in signaling in some of your mood hormones and your appetite satiety hormones. Here's an action step. Check your labels. And if you see polysorbate 80 or carboxymethylcellulose and carrageenan, then just try to avoid those foods. Look for products that use natural stabilizers like guar gum or lecithin. Number 2 is artificial sweeteners. And I'm talking about sucralose, saccharin, and aspartame. Stevia, monk fruit, and allulose are okay. But for years, we were told that sucralose, saccharin, and aspartame are fine. And there's conflicting evidence about this, whether or not they affect your blood sugars or not, or cravings, or make you eat more. But when it comes to your gut, it can disrupt your gut microbiome and allow bad bacteria to overgrow and lowering your good bacteria. It'll affect the diversity. There was a fascinating study that showed that when people consume saccharin, which is the little pink packets, they developed a glucose intolerance, a precursor to diabetes, because of how the sweetener affected their microbiome. So it wasn't even calories or it wasn't even sugar. It was just the microbiome that was shifting that caused them to get some metabolic dysfunction. You might be sabotaging your weight loss efforts. If you are drinking 3 cans of diet soda or iced tea with the sweetener in it to try to lose weight instead of drinking, regular soda, I mean, that's bad too. But a lot of people will drink copious amounts of diet soda thinking that it's okay and it doesn't have any impact. Well, you might be sabotaging yourself because it may affect your glucose tolerance and your gut bacteria, and then that's going to affect your weight. Number 3 is refined carbohydrates. And I know this may not be a surprise, but white flour, sugary snacks, and white pasta, those all can affect your microbiome. Good bacteria, especially certain strains, need fiber to survive. They ferment fiber to create those short chain fatty acids that I mentioned earlier. When you eat a diet high in refined carbs and low in fiber, specifically under 8 to 12 grams of fiber a day, you're effectively starving your good bacteria so then they don't make those short chain fatty acids. And then certainly if you eat a high sugar diet, then that can feed the bad bacteria and even yeast like candida, and you can end up with candida overgrowth. Number 4 are the industrial seed oils. And this includes things like soybean oil, corn oil, and cottonseed oil. And these are ubiquitous in processed foods and restaurant cooking. They have done studies where a little bit of these oils does good, but the problem is they're everywhere. So if you're eating a lot of these processed foods, you're going to be getting a lot of these oils, and too much is not good. They are high in an omega-6 fatty acid. And like I said, a little bit of omega-6 is good, but when you get a lot, you tend to have more inflammation because omega-6 fat is pro-inflammatory as opposed to an omega-3 fat, which is anti-inflammatory. You want to stick to healthier fats like olive oil, avocado oil, and omega-3 foods. And finally, number 5 is alcohol. We often worry about what alcohol does to the liver, but the gut takes the first hit. Heavy or chronic alcohol intake almost acts like an antibiotic. It creates these disturbances in the microbiome as well, and it specifically depletes the bacteria that produce the butyrate, which is that short-chain fatty acid that's so crucial for your gut wall. And then what's even more concerning, usually if you have an imbalanced microbiome from a poor diet, and then you start to go on a diet that avoids some of those bad foods and feed your gut the right things, then you can see a pretty quick turnaround in your gut health. You can start to feel better as far as your microbiome rebalancing. But with alcohol, it can take a lot longer, even months. The goal isn't perfection if you are eating or drinking a lot of these. It's to do what you can and progress. Just start with one of these to try to eliminate. And then when you feel comfortable with that, then you can go to the next one. You can swap your sweeteners for the better ones. My favorite is allulose. I like that one. There was a study that even said that allulose may help your gut microbiome. And then cut back on some of the ultra-processed foods. Maybe if you do eat a lot of those, just try to have one meal that's whole, clean foods. So drop a comment below. Which of these 5 foods do you feel is hardest to give up or that you have given up, and any tips or tricks to do that? Thanks for listening. If you're listening to the podcast or watching, if you're watching the YouTube version, please follow, subscribe, and have a fantastic day.